Hare Krishna. Welcome to this 18-day session on the systematic study of the greatest literature available to mankind, the Srimad Bhagavatam. Before we begin today's session, I shall chant a few prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, I would like to welcome everyone again to this systematic study and analysis of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which contains 12 cantos, 335 chapters and 18,000 shlokas. We are presently in the study of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam that contains 19 chapters and 335 shloka and 808 shlokas. So we have already discussed how at the change of the previous millennium from Dwapara Yuga to Kali Yuga, the age of Kali was confronted, was received and properly dealt with by the great king Parikshit Maharaj, who is the grandson of Arjuna and Subhadra and the son of Abhimanyu and Uttara. When Parikshit saw the personality of Kali or Kali Purusha attacking a cow and bull who were actually in disguise, they were dharma or religion personified and the Mother Earth, Parikshit immediately took the appropriate action of giving complete protection to dharma, to the principles of religion, and to protect Mother Earth from the onslaught of Kali. Finally, when Kali Purusha begged to and appealed to Parikshit Maharaj to grant him some places to stay in his sovereign kingdom so that he could have some place to reside, because this was the period when Kali Yuga has already started, and by the supreme will of the Supreme Lord, just like there is a change of seasons, there is the change of the yugas or the millenniums and the various factors and characteristics that accompany each season, likewise they accompany each yuga. So although the influence of adharma is very high, the principles of irreligion are rampant in the age of Kali, so therefore Parikshit Maharaj granted the 4 important places of the principles of religion, the 4 main symbols of sinful activities for Kali Purusha to reside. We have already discussed this yesterday, that these 4 principles of sinful activities are meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex and gambling. It is stated in 1.17.38 that Dyutam Panam Striyaha Suna Yatra Adharmash Chaturvidaha. These are the 4 great symbols of sinful activities and of adharma or irreligion. Because Parikshit Maharaj's kingdom was completely free from even the slightest trace of any of these sinful activities, the Kali Purusha further asked Parikshit to grant him some place which would be practical for him to find and reside. And at that time, the fifth place was granted by Parikshit Maharaj to Kali Purusha to be the place where there is a lot of accumulation of gold or wealth that is not utilized in the service of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. So in this way, Parikshit gave perfect protection to Mother Earth and the principles of religion who were in the form of a cow and the bull from the sinful propensities of Kali Yuga. And therefore, what we should learn from this episode, from this incident, is that even during the age of Kali, one can be perfectly protected by following the principles as given here by Parikshit Maharaj, who is many times described in the text of the Bhagavatam to be Mahabhagavata. So one who is under the shelter of the Supreme Lord Krishna not only can completely be aloof from all the irreligious principles of Kali Yuga, but in fact a great pure devotee, Mahabhagavata of the standard of Parikshit Maharaj, can also take steps in order to chastise and dominate the principles of Kali. So now let us move to the next chapter, the 18th chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which explains, which describes the events that happened later to Parikshit Maharaj, which led to a small boy, the son of a great sage, to pronounce a very severe and harsh curse upon Parikshit Maharaj to die within the next 7 days. So how Parikshit was cursed unnecessarily, immaturely by a tiny boy would be described in the 18th chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the great sage Suta Goswami continues to narrate to the sages of Naimisharanya that Yo vai draunyastra viplushto namatur udare mritaha anugrahad bhagavataha krishnasya adbhuta karmanaha. Due to the mercy of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, who acts most wonderfully, Parikshit Maharaj was not in the least harmed even by the attack of the Brahmastra while he was in the womb of his mother Uttara. So such is the great position of Parikshit. He is not an ordinary personality, and therefore the chapter which describes the Brahma Shapa, the curse of a Brahmana boy upon Parikshit Maharaj, first of all clarifies that actually Parikshit Maharaj cannot be affected by a very insignificant curse of a young Brahmana boy, when even the Brahmastra was unable to do any harm to Parikshit, even when he was a small child. So now, after even more spiritual advancement, so there are two things that attacked on Parikshit Maharaj. One is the Brahmastra, when he was a small child in the womb of his mother. And the second thing that is going to befall upon Parikshit Maharaj is Brahma Shapa. So in comparison to of a Brahmastra and Brahma Shapa, a Brahmastra is the ultimate dangerous weapon, and a Brahma Shapa, that too of a young Brahmana boy, is actually very, very insignificant. So when the Brahmastra was unable to harm Parikshit, how could a Brahma Shapa affect him? So actually there is a great mystery and secret how Parikshit got afflicted with this Brahma Shapa, which is going to be explained further in this chapter. So Brahma kopothitan yastu takshakad prana viplavat na sammumoha urubhayat bhagavati arpita shayaha. Parikshit Maharaj, being a completely surrendered soul to the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, Bhagavati Arpita Shayaha. Parikshit is described here to be a completely surrendered soul to the Supreme Lord, to Bhagavan, and therefore na sammumoha. He was not the least afraid or fearful of the Brahma Kopa Utthita, the Takshakad Prana Viplavat, of his impending death, which was ordained by the curse of this Brahmana boy. So it is very clearly established in many texts, in many verses of the 18th and the 19th chapters of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that Parikshit was not even slightest, not even in the least affected by any danger, by any quality of fear. He was not overwhelmed by fear at all. There are some people who cite, who in fact speculatively explain another story, that when Parikshit Maharaj was cursed, he became very fearful that he had to die within 7 days, and he took all steps and measures in order to protect himself from the curse of being bitten by a very dangerous snake, a snake bird by name Takshaka. But here we shall find in the original, the actual text of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is reiterated and emphasized many times that a great Mahabhagavata like Parikshit was never afflicted with any sense of fear or grief or lamentation. We shall see later in 1.19.4, when Parikshit even heard the news of the curse, he became very joyful, he became very happy. Sadhu mene, he thought this is the right thing to have happened for him to completely, and he took it as a great opportunity to completely detach himself from all material activities and material connections, and completely surrender and take shelter of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. So here also in 1.18.2 it is stated that na sammumoha, Parikshit was not perturbed by fear. In fact, utsrijya sarvata sangam vijnata jita samsthitihi vayyasake jahau shishyo gangayam swam kalevaram. The king went to Gangayam, to the banks of the sacred river Ganga, and took complete shelter of Vayyasakihi, of his guru, of his spiritual master, the son of Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami, whose another name is Vayyasaki. And he was able to understand Vijnata Ajita Samstitihi. He completely attained the stage of God realization. Vijnata Ajita Samshritihi, Samsthitihi. He understood the complete science of God and returned back to the kingdom of God. So Suta Goswami in fact now he tells the general principle also that na uttama shloka vagtanam jushatam tat kathamritam syat sambhramo antakalepi smaratam tat padambujam. This is not at all an astonishing thing, especially in connection with a pure devotee like Parikshit Maharaj, because those who have dedicated their lives to the transcendental topics of the Supreme Lord, of whom even the Vedic hymns always sing the glories of, and who are constantly smaratam tat padambujam, those who are constantly engaged in remembering the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, never have any risk of having misconceptions, antakalepi, especially at the time of death. So they are not the least bewildered by any kind of material conceptions, because smaratam tat padambujam, they always engage in the intense remembrance of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So therefore तावत् कलिर्न प्रभवेत् प्रविष्टोऽपीह सर्वतः यावदीशो महान् ऊर्व्याम् आभिमन्यव एकराट्. Suta Goswami in fact says that as long as the great powerful son of Abhimanyu, Parikshit Maharaj, remains as the emperor of the world, there was no chance for Kali to spread his influence in this world. Although his time had begun, he was unable to have any kind of influence in any part of the world because of the strong spiritual rule of Parikshit Maharaj. So then what did Kali do in order to diminish the rule of Parikshit Maharaj? It is sometimes explained by foolish commentators and those who explain the Srimad Bhagavatam that the Kali Purusha entered the crown, one of the crowns of Parikshit, and then he influenced Parikshit Maharaj. Whereas the right understanding given by the great acharyas and also in the Srimad Bhagavatam is that the plan of Kali Purusha to bring down Parikshit Maharaj, because as long as Parikshit Maharaj was the emperor of the world, Kali Yuga, with all his associates, with all his principles of sinful activities and all his influence of quarrel, dissension and disagreement, could not take any foothold in the empire. So the master plan made by Kali Purusha was to spoil the head of a young Brahmana boy who, influenced by Kali, he uttered a curse upon Parikshit. So actually Parikshit was not influenced by Kali, it was the Brahmana boy who cursed Parikshit Maharaj. He was influenced by Kali Purusha. So that will be explained here. So Nanudveshti Kalim Samrat Saranga Iva Sarabhuk Kushalan Yashu Siddhyanti Netarani Kritani Yat. As far as Parikshit Maharaj was concerned, he was not at all afraid of the inauspicious effects of Kali Yuga, because he was such a strong ruler that he completely kept Kali Yuga under his control. So although Kali Purusha was in his dominion, he could not have any influence. But the positive effects of Kali Yuga, although Kali Yuga has got a lot of negative, most of it are negative effects, but there are some very, very unsurpassed and unparalleled positive effects of Kali Yuga. One of the positive effects of Kali Yuga is explained here in 1.18.7, that kushalani ashu siddhyanti na itarani kritaniyat, that any kushala, an auspicious act, would produce the resultant effect even when performed in the manaha, in the mind. So even a manasika punya, a activity performed in the mind, any pious activity performed even within the mind would give the result. Whereas na itarani kritaniyat, whereas a sinful activity, unless it would be performed, would not give the result. The situation was exactly the opposite till the previous ages, till up to the end of Dwapara Yuga. In all the previous ages, any pious activity would bear fruit only when performed, when the act was completed. Whereas a sinful activity would give the resultant reaction even when thought of in the mind. So, considering the fallen condition of the people of Kali Yuga, a special concession has been made by the laws of nature, by the laws of God, because our minds in the Kali Yuga are so insane and so crazy that if there is a reaction for the sinful thoughts of our mind, there would be no end to the resultant sinful reactions that we may incur. Whereas our inclination towards pious activities is so minimal that a very special consideration has been made, that even if you think of a good activity or a pious activity, even in our thoughts, that would give the result of that pious activity. So this is one of the great qualities of Kali Yuga, but the greatest positive quality of Kali Yuga is described later in the 12th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that Kale doshanidhe rajan asti hyeko mahan gunaha kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangaha param rajet. Although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there is one great quality, asti hyeko mahan gunaha. There is a very great guna or quality, which is that kirtanad eva krishnasya mukta sangaha param rajet. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one can attain the highest spiritual perfection of mukti or liberation. It is stated in all the Vedic scriptures that Hare Nama Iva Kevalam Kalau nastyeva gatiranyatha. In this age of Kali, there is no other means of deliverance. There is no other means of deliverance. There is no other means of deliverance other than the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. So in this way, Kali Yuga had arrived, had already begun, but due to the rule of Parikshit Maharaj, only these positive qualities could take influence, and he kept all the negative qualities of Kali Yuga completely under control. So this was the great rule of Parikshit Maharaj. So in this way, Suta Goswami explains that I have narrated the incident of Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami, but after hearing this in brief, the sages of Naimisharanya, headed by Shaunaka Rishi, were not satisfied that Parikshit Maharaj just heard the Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadev Goswami. They wanted to delve deeper into this matter, because these topics, the topics of the hearing of the Srimad Bhagavatam by Parikshit from Shukadev Goswami, is the subject matter, the highest spiritual subject matter, and hence the sages of Naimisharanya were also very eager to hear of these spiritual and transcendental topics. So they all expressed Rishaya uchuhu suta jiva sama saumya shashvatir vishadam yashaha yastvam shamshasi krishnasya magtyanam amritam hinaha. They glorified Suta Goswami. May you live for a very, very long lifespan, because you are, may all glories be unto you, because you are imparting Krishnasya Amritam Naha. You are giving us the greatest Amrita, the greatest nectar of the activities of the narration of the divine activities of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, which are the real cause of liberation for the Martyas, for the people of this material world, of this samsara. So further, now in 1.18.13, the sages of Naimisharanya make a very beautiful and a golden statement. This particular verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.18.13 is definitively one of the most important instructions of the Srimad Bhagavatam, because this is the only shloka of the Srimad Bhagavatam that is repeated thrice in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Right here in 1.18.13, the same verse is again repeated in 4.24.57 and again in 4.30.34. So what is this instruction? Here it is said, Tulayamalavenapi na swargam na apunarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kim uta ashisha. Ashisha refers to a benediction, a blessing. So what is the greatest blessing, the greatest achievement, the greatest benediction? What is it? Is it, here a few comparisons have been given. Swargam, is it the attainment of the upper higher planetary systems, the heavenly planets, where one has a very long duration of life and unimpeded happiness, but happiness in the realm of sense gratification, indriya, bhoga, sukha? Or is the highest attainment, is it the attainment of apunarbhavam? Apunarbhavam refers to the freedom that one attains from the cycle of birth and death, or liberation, or moksha. So what is the highest attainment or achievement for a human being? Is it the attainment of Swargaloka, the heavenly planets? Is it the attainment of Apunarbhavam, freedom from the cycle of birth and death, and the attainment of eternal existence in moksha or liberation? Or is there something even higher? It is explained here that the highest benediction, the highest blessing for any human being, for any living entity, is Bhagavat Sangi Sangasya Lavena. Even a moment's association with a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna is not any way comparable to the attainment of heaven or even of liberation. It is much, much, much higher. You can compare things which have some connection, which have some parity, but something which is you cannot compare the earth and the sky. Likewise, the attainment, forget about attainment of Swargaloka or heaven. Even the attainment of liberation, just to be free from the cycle of birth and death, is just like the earth and cannot be compared to the sky of a moment's association with a pure devotee of the order of Shukadeva Goswami or Vedavyasa or Hanuman or Narada or Prahlada. So such is the infinite value of association with a pure devotee like Narada. There are many, many instances wherein even the most fallen living beings have attained the stage surpassing that of moksha or liberation, to be situated in the eternal loving relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna by a moment's association with great pure devotees like Narada Muni. There are instances of Valmiki, Vedavyasa and so many who are described even in the Srimad Bhagavatam, how they came in contact with a pure devotee like Narada and they attained stages surpassing that of liberation. So therefore here the sages of Naimisharanya express that even a moment's association with a pure devotee of the Lord cannot be compared. Tulayama lavenapi. Lava is just a small moment. Na swargam na apunarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya magtyanam kim utashishaha. It cannot be compared to the attainment of heavenly planets or even liberation from matter, and what to speak of the worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity. So in this way the sages of Naimisharanya express their great good fortune of having that Bhagavat Sangi Sangha, the association of a pure devotee like Suta Goswami, and they encourage him, they appeal to him to continue narrate the topics of Parikshit Maharaj in great detail, because they are the real Amrita or nectar that can grant us the situation surpassing even that of ordinary moksha or liberation. So they further say that ko namar tripyet rasavit kathayam mahattamaikanta parayanasya nantam gunanam agunasya jagmuhu yogeshwaraye bhava padma mukhyaha. Bhava refers to Lord Shiva and Padma refers to Lord Brahma. The Supreme Lord Krishna, he is Mahattamaika Mahattama Ekanta Parayanasya. He is the exclusive shelter for all the great living entities, and his transcendental attributes cannot even be measured. Na antam gunanam. The anta, the final end of the transcendental divine activities and qualities of the Supreme Lord cannot be reached, cannot be measured even by Bhava Padmya, even by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. So such are the infinite varieties and infinite qualities of the Supreme Lord Krishna and his divine name, form and qualities and pastimes. So who definitely would have satiation in hearing the topics of the infinite Supreme Lord Shri Krishna? So they inquire from him, please describe to us further the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, which are above all material conception. Tanno bhavanvai bhagavat pradhano mahattamaikanta parayanasya harerudaram charitam vishuddham shushrushatam no vitanotu vidvan. They address Suta Goswami that you are a very learned and pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, because you have made devotional service as the supreme objective of your life. Therefore, please describe to us in great detail the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So they further specifically ask, Savai Mahabhagavata Parikshit Yena Pavarghakhyamadabrha Buddhihi Jnanena Vayya Sakishabditena Bheje Khagendra Dvajapada Moolam. Please describe the topics of the Lord by which Parikshit Maharaj, whose intelligence was fixed on attaining liberation from and complete freedom from the fear of death, how did Parikshit attain the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord? So these topics were heard by Parikshit from the son of Vedavyasa, that is Shukadeva Goswami. So being addressed by the sages of Naimisharanya, headed by Shaunaka Rishi, to explain about the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, especially as narrated in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Shukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, Suta Goswami was further greatly and highly enthused, and he congratulated the sages of Naimisharanya for their eagerness to hear the topics about the Supreme Lord. He Suta Goswami also glorifies the Supreme Lord by saying that Kuta punar ghrinato nama tasya mahattamaikanta parayanasya yonanta shaktir bhagavan ananto mahadgunatvadhyam anantamahuhu. Here one line, mahattamaikanta parayanasya, has been used 3 times in the 18th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto, in 1.18.15, 1.18.14 and also in 1.18.19, that the Supreme Lord is the exclusive shelter, Mahattama Ekanta Parayanasya. He is the supreme shelter of the surrendered pure devotees. So here one of the attributes and qualities of the Supreme Lord is described, that he is called Ananta because Yo Ananta Shaktihi Bhagavan Anantaha, because everything about the Supreme Lord is Ananta. Anta means to have an end, and Ananta means unending or infinite. So everything about the Supreme Lord is infinite, is unending, and therefore the name of the Supreme Lord, one of the holy names of the Supreme Lord, is Ananta, or infinite or unending. It is also said that Hari Ananta, Hari Katha Ananta. Since the Supreme Lord Krishna is Ananta, even Hari Katha, the narration of the divine topics of the divine pastimes of the Supreme Lord, Hari Leela, are also Ananta, are infinite or unending. So Suta Goswami further explains, Etavatalam nanusuchitena gunera samyanatishayanasya hitvetaran pragthayato vibhutir yasyangrirenum jushate anabhipsoho. That the unlimited infinite Supreme Lord is Guner Asamyanid Atishayanasya. This is also a description given in all the Upanishads, that Asamogdva, the Supreme Lord, has no equal and no one greater than him. There is no personality, there is no thing, there is no manifestation that can equal or be greater than the Supreme Lord, and therefore the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. He is a Samogdva. Further, Suta Goswami glorifies the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna by saying, Athapi yat padanakhavasrishtam jagat virinchopahrita ghanambha sesham punatyanyatamo mukundat ko namaloke bhagavat padarthaha. This is a very beautiful glorification of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, that who can be worthy of the name of Bhagavan, of the Supreme Lord, but Shri Krishna, because even Brahma, Lord Brahma collected the water emanating from the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Krishna in order to award it to Lord Shiva as a worshipful welcome. So that very water is none other than the water of Ganga Devi. So when Ganga first entered the universe, that water was collected by Brahma in his Kamandalu, and later by the tapasya of Bhagiratha, the waters of the Ganga came down and were received by Isham, Sa Isham Punati. It purifies the entire universe, including Lord Shiva. So he has placed this water of the Ganga on his head. So such is the infinite and unlimited glory of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. So therefore, Suta Goswami replies to the specific question of the sages of Naimisharanya, who had asked him to describe in great detail about the divine and transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Lord, that he shall definitely attempt, but because the Supreme Lord is Ananta, is unlimited, he would try as much as would be possible for him. So he gives a very beautiful example as well by saying, Yatra anurakta sahasaiva dhira vyapohya dehadishu sanghamudham vrajanti tat paramahamsya nityam yasmin nahimshopashamasva dharmaha. Suta Goswami says that aham hi prishtorya mano bhavadbhir achaksha atma vagamotra yavan nabhapatantyatma samam patatrinaha tatha samam vishnu gatim vipashtitaha. That aham hi prishtaha, since all of you have inquired for me and requested me to narrate the topics of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, I shall achaksha atmavagamotra yaman, I shall try in the best of my capacity to explain about the divine pastimes of the Supreme Lord, just like the birds patatrinaha fly high in the sky as much as their capacity allows. So therefore, just like no bird can reach the limits of the sky, it can rise up according to its capacity. Likewise, no one, it is stated here that even the greatest of the demigods, the Devatas like Brahma and Lord Shiva, cannot reach the end of the divine infinite qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord Ananta or Krishna. So Suta Goswami says, I shall try to the best of my capacity, just like a bird flies and rises high in the sky to the best of its capacity. So now from 1.18.24 onwards, Suta Goswami further narrates the beautiful story of Parikshit Maharaj. He explains that Ekada dhanurudyamya vicharan mrigayam vane mrigan anugata shrantaha kshudhitastrishito bhrisham jalashayam achakshanaha pravivesha tamashramam dadarsha munimasinam shantam militalocanam. Ekada, once upon a time, Parikshit Maharaj, while engaged in hunting in the forest with bow and arrows, he became extremely fatigued, hungry and thirsty. So at that time, searching for some water, he entered the ashrama of a sage by name Shamika Rishi. And at that time, Shamika Rishi was completely absorbed in meditation, and he did not properly receive. He did not even notice the arrival of the sovereign emperor of the entire earth, of the entire world, Parikshit Maharaj, because he was absorbed in meditation. But Parikshit did not properly understand the situation of the sage Shamika Rishi, and being afflicted by feelings of intense hunger and thirst, he got offended and mistakenly thought that the sage was not ready to receive the king. He was not ready to welcome Parikshit Maharaj. He did not even offer him Viprakinam Jat Alabdha Trina Bhumyadir Asampraptyarghya Sunritaha Avagyatam Ivatmanam Manyamanaschukopaha. The king, when he did not receive any formal welcome, he did not get even a seat, a place, some water, or even some sweet words, considered himself neglected, and so thinking, Chukopaha, he became a bit angry. I shall explain the real secret behind this entire incident a little shortly, but right now let us hear what exactly happened. So in this way, Abhutapurvaha sahasa kshutridbhyam agditatmanaha brahmanam pratyabhut brahman matsaro manyurevacha. The king was, this was a very unprecedented situation for Parikshit Maharaj. It is stated that Abhutapurvaha, never had Parikshit been subjected to such a situation of anger, because always till now Parikshit has been described as a Mahabhagavata, as the greatest pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, beyond all material contaminations. So this is Abhutapurva, something which is unprecedented. How could Parikshit be affected by the mundane material quality of even hunger, thirst and anger? This is actually not possible. The great secret behind this is that this was ordained by the supreme will of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. Now, why would Krishna ordain such a thing to instigate his pure devotee to be degraded to some quality of material, quality of mundane anger towards a great sage like Shamika Rishi? So, it is always described that the plan and scheme of the Supreme Lord is achintya or inconceivable, but it can be understood by the great pure devotees of the Lord. Parikshit and the Pandavas, being malleable, unalloyed devotees of the Lord, accept every situation as the supreme will of the Supreme Lord, and can understand that there is some plan even behind this situation of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. The real mystery behind the anger of Parikshit Maharaj is beautifully explained by the great Acharyas Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura in their commentary to the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I would like to take this opportunity to read the passage of what exactly is the great mystery and secret behind the apparent fall down of Parikshit Maharaj in trying to punish a great sage. What Parikshit did was, that is also described that Satu Brahmarishe Ramse Ghatasum Uragam Rusha, out of his anger, Rusha Gata asum uragam. Uraga means a snake, and gata asum. He took a dead snake which he found lying nearby and put it on the shoulder of the great sage Shamika Rishi like a garland. Normally, Parikshit would have always offered a beautiful flower garland in order to honor a great spiritualist like Shamika Rishi. But because he was afflicted with anger, he felt offended. He put a garland of a dead snake on Shamika Rishi and went back to his capital. So even all these places are still existing in the state of Uttar Pradesh, north of New Delhi. The place is called Parikshitgarh, the capital of Parikshit Maharaj. Then there is the village, the ashrama of Shamika Rishi, where the sacred river Kaushiki flows, and where all these incidents took place. So why did Parikshit perform such an act? So I will read the passage explained by the great acharyas, and please hear very attentively in order to properly understand the transcendental position and glories of the pure devotees of the Lord, the Mahabhagavatas like Parikshit Maharaj. So here it is explained that the Supreme Lord is so kind to his pure devotees like Parikshit that in the appropriate proper time he calls such devotees to come back to him, and thus creates an auspicious circumstance for the devotee. Maharaj Parikshit was a pure devotee of the Lord, and there was no reason for him to become extremely fatigued, hungry and thirsty, because a devotee of the Lord never becomes perturbed or disturbed by such bodily demands. But by the desire of the Supreme Lord, even such a devotee can become apparently fatigued and thirsty just to create a situation favorable for his renunciation of worldly activities. One has to give up all attachment for worldly relations before one is able to go back to Godhead. And thus, when a devotee is too much absorbed in worldly affairs, the Lord creates a situation to cause indifference. The Supreme Lord never forgets his pure devotee, even though he may be engaged in worldly affairs. The devotee can understand by the signal of the Lord, but others take it to be unfavorable and frustrating. Maharaj Parikshit was to become the medium of the revelation of Srimad Bhagavatam by Lord Shri Krishna. Just like his grandfather Arjuna was the medium for receiving the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. So just like had Arjuna not been taken up with the illusion of family affection by the will of the Lord, the Bhagavad Gita would not have been spoken by the Lord himself for the good of all concerned. So even Arjuna's going into material illusion at the beginning of the battle of Mahabharata was by the will of the Lord, because the Supreme Lord had chosen Arjuna to be the instrument, to be the first recipient of the supreme knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, and this was again a drama created by the Supreme Lord to put Arjuna into illusion, then give the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita not only to Arjuna, but for the supreme benefit of the entire humanity for all times to come. And Arjuna just in 1 hour became completely enlightened. So that is the plan of the Supreme Lord, and similarly the Lord had this plan in order to bring Parikshit Maharaj from this material world. He wanted to call him back to the spiritual world as soon as possible. So he created this situation for Parikshit Maharaj for two reasons, so that he could bring Parikshit back to the spiritual world as soon as possible, and also to broadcast the Srimad Bhagavatam to the entire world through the medium, through the reception of through the medium of Parikshit Maharaj. So similarly, had Maharaj Parikshit not been fatigued, hungry and thirsty and at that time and become angry, Srimad Bhagavatam would not have been spoken by Srila Shukadeva Goswami, the prime authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is a prelude to the circumstances under which the Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken for the benefit of all concerned. So therefore, we should understand this properly with the help of the great liberated acharyas. So in this way, Maharaj Parikshit put a garland of a dead snake on Shamika Rishi and went back to his kingdom. So after some time, Parikshit himself started contemplating. He immediately contemplated that I have done a very great mistake and an offense by committing such an act on the great sage Shamika Rishi. This would be further explained in the next 19th chapter of the first canto. But meanwhile, when Tasya putro ati tejasvi viharan balakorbhakaihi ragnyagam prapitam tatam shrutva tatredam abravit. The sage Shamika Rishi had a son by name Shringi. So when Shringi heard, when he was playing, he heard of the situation of his father. He heard through some of his friends that Parikshit had come to their ashram and had become angry at not being received by his father, and had put a garland of a dead snake on his father. So at that time, this young boy became very angry, and immediately he ityuktva roshatam raksho vayasyan rishibalakaha Kaushikyapa upasprishya vagvajram visasagjaha. The son of the rishi, out of his great immaturity, in fact, the great acharyas have explained that this Shringi, the young Brahmana boy, was polluted, was influenced by the Kali Purusha, and in great anger, Tamrakshaha, with eyes red hot, with copper red eyes, he touched the water of river Kaushiki and immediately discharged a thunderbolt of a curse. Iti langhita maryadam takshakaha saptamehani dangshyati sma kulangaram chodito me tatadruham. On the seventh day from today, the snake bird called Takshaka will bite Parikshit Maharaj. So this was the curse uttered by the young by the young boy Shringi upon Parikshit Maharaj. And after that, Shringi came back to his ashram, the ashram of his father, and Shringi was already feeling the pinch in his heart that maybe he had committed a very great mistake. So he came to his father and began to cry. He began to cry profusely in the presence of his father. So at that time, Pitaram Vikshya Dukkhanto Mukta Kantho Rurodaha Sava Angiraso Brahman Shrutva Sutavilapanam Unmilya Shanake Netre Drishtva Chamse Mritoragam. The sage Shamika Rishi, he opened his eyes and saw his grieving and crying son. He also observed the dead snake around his neck. But what was his reaction? Did he take it to be a great insult? It is explained that Visrijya tamcha papracha vatsa kasmadhiro dishi tena kenava te apakritam ityuktaha sa nyavedayat. The great sage Shamika Rishi did not take it to be a serious matter at all. He just he threw away that dead snake and inquired from his son the reason for his grief, for his crying. So when Shringi explained all that had taken place and also how he had pronounced a curse upon Parikshit Maharaj, so at that time Shamika Rishi became very sad and he explained, Nishamya Shaptam Atadarham Narendram Sabrahmano Natmajam Abhyanandat Ahobatam Ho Mahadadyate Kritam Alpiyasi Droha Urugdamo Dhritaha. Shamika Rishi did not say that Parikshit had committed any great fault, but the cursing of Parikshit by Shringi was taken to be a aho bata amho, that you have committed a very, very great fault, a very great mistake by cursing the faultless king Parikshit Maharaj. He had committed a very alpiyasi droha. A very, very insignificant thing was done by Parikshit, and for that, in response to an insignificant act, you have committed the greatest mistake of pronouncing such a severe curse upon Parikshit Maharaj. In fact, he further explains that your intelligence is very immature. Navainribhir naradevam parakhyam sammatumar avipakva buddhe. Shamika Rishi addressed his son Shringi that you are avipakva buddhi, you are highly immature and you don't have the sufficient maturity and intelligence to properly understand the whole situation, because Parikshit, being a Mahabhagavata, being a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, is never to be subjected to a curse. So in fact, due to our mistake, it would so happen that bereft of the protection and the strong rule and the spiritual potency of Parikshit Maharaj, Kali, who had been waiting, Kali Purusha, who had been waiting to spread his influence, would now get the opportunity to penetrate in all parts of the world, and the cause for such a thing to happen would be due to your immature cursing of Parikshit Maharaj. So he explained further that Tadarya dharma praviliyate nrinam vagnashramacharayutastrai mayaha tatorthakama bhiniveshitatmanam shunam kapinam iva vagnasankaraha. Due to the termination of the monarchy of Parikshit Maharaj, the people would be put into great suffering by rogues and thieves who would plunder them. There will be great social disruptions. People would be killed and injured. Women and animals would be stolen. And he says, Shamika Rishi says, for all these things, naha papam, we would be responsible for that sin. So this is the magnanimity also of Shamika Rishi, that the act committed by his son Shringi, he considered even himself to be responsible for the act of his son. Shamika Rishi further says that Dharmapalo Narapatihi Satu Samrat Brihat Shravaha Sakshan Mahabhagavato Rajarshir Hayame Dharyat Kshutrit Shramayuto Dino Naivasmat Shapamarhati. Emperor Parikshit is Mahabhagavataha. He is the best first class devotee of the Supreme Lord. He is a saint, Rajarshihi. He is a saint among royalty, and he has performed many pious activities and great sacrifices for the supreme pleasure of the Supreme Lord. When such a king has arrived to our ashram, he does not at all deserve to be cursed. So in this way, apapeshu svabhritteshu balena apakva buddhina papam kritam tad bhagavan sarvatma kshantumarhati. So again and again, Shamika Rishi explains this act of his son Shringi to be done out of immaturity, avipakva buddhihi, and therefore he now prays to the Supreme Lord to somehow pardon this unpardonable act of his son of cursing the saintly king Parikshit Maharaj. He prayed to the Supreme Lord Krishna to Papam kritam tad bhagavan sarvatma kshantumarhati, that may the Supreme Lord pardon this immature boy who had no intelligence and who has committed the great sin. Papam kritam, the great sin of cursing a person, cursing Parikshit, who is apapaha, who is completely free from all sins and who deserved to be protected and not to be cursed. So in this way, Tiraskrita vipralabdha shapta kshipta hata api nasya tat pratikurvanti tad bhakta prabhuvopihi. Shamika Rishi also explained that in case Parikshit Maharaj would do some pratikara, Parikshit himself was having the potency to counter curse the Brahmana boy Shringi. But the devotees of the Supreme Lord, tad bhaktaha prabhavaha, they are capable, they have all the spiritual potency to counteract the greatest danger of this world, of this universe. They are prabhavaha, tad bhaktaha, yet nasya tat pratikurvanti, they never counter react. Even when they are tiraskritaha, when they are defamed, they are rejected, vipralabdhaha, even when they are cheated, shaptaha, when they are cursed, kshiptaha, when they are disturbed by negligence, hataha, even when they are killed. The devotees of the Lord are supremely tolerant and forbearing, that even though they are defamed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected, or even killed, tiraskrita, vipralabdha, shapta, kshipta, hata api, nasya tat pratikurvanti, they are never inclined to show any reaction or to avenge themselves. Na pratikurvanti. So they completely, what do? They completely surrender to the Supreme Lord, and in case the Supreme Lord wants to protect them, the Supreme Lord does so. We find this very beautifully in the case of the great devotee Prahlada. When Hiranyakashipu launched all his attacks and atrocities on Prahlada, Prahlada did not react or try to even defend himself. He completely surrendered to the will of the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord, by his own will, protected Prahlada under all circumstances. So finally, the 18th chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam concludes with the statement by Suta Goswami that iti putra krita ghena sonutapto mahamunihi swayam viprakrito rajna naivagham tadachintayat prayashah munayo loke pare dvandveshu yojitaha na vyathanti na hrisyanti yata atma agunashkayaha. Shamika Rishi himself, also being a Mahamuni, a great transcendentalist, also did not counter curse or show any kind of offense towards Parikshit Maharaj. So although he was the one who had been offended by Parikshit. So this is the nature of transcendentalists like Parikshit and Shamika Rishi, that they are never disturbed by the material dualities of this material world. So this is the wonderful description given in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the cursing of the great emperor and the pure devotee Parikshit Maharaj by an inexperienced and an immature boy Shringi at the ashrama of Shamika Rishi. So after hearing this curse, what was the action taken by Parikshit Maharaj? What did he do when he heard that he is going to die in 7 days? So that is very beautifully described in the final concluding chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 19th chapter. So please do join us tomorrow for the narration of for the continuation of the narration of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Please do subscribe to our channel and do press the like button, and please do join us tomorrow for the narration of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.